Okay, so today, as I was saying, we are going to work on unit number 2. Unit number 2 is called talking about your company. So this is vocabulary, well, some grammar, basic grammar, and then also some vocabulary related to the company. What are other ways to say company in English? What are synonyms for company? Company. So talking about your company. What is a synonym for company? What is a company? Can you think of related words to company? Okay. You can say enterprise normally if it's a very big company. For example, your enterprises, or I remember if you have seen the latest movies about Batman, like Bruce, or I can't remember, enterprises. So enterprises is like industries, like a very big thing, enterprise. Enterprise is also not a company, but a kind of adventure that a project as well, an enterprise. What is another word for company apart from? So enterprise sounds like very big, and sometimes like something like smaller. For example, when you run a business. A business is also a company. A business, like if you run a small shop or something, that's a business. Un negocio. For a shop as well. A business can also mean una tienda or something like that. And you can also have the words like organization if it's very big, firm, for example, a cosmetics firm, firma. Okay, so that's a synonym for company. But normally company is the most common word. So in this PDF, you have the whole material. If you look at the table of contents, you have some grammar, basic grammar, which is this, GP article, some present simple and continuous, and then this is the most important thing, which is vocabulary. Maybe that part is new, okay? Job descriptions, company departments and positions, and company profiles. So here you have the grammar that you can read, okay? But this is one of the most important parts of the units, okay? Which is the names of, what are these? Accountant, designer, engineer. Do you know this vocabulary? It's on page 11. What is the category of those words? So what is the common, the generic category? What are those words? Are they names of food? No. Are they names of places? No. They are names of what? These are names of what? Can you follow me? So, okay, jobs, occupations, professions. You can also say. However, in English you have job. The word job. What's your job? What's your occupation? Occupation sounds more formal. Profession is only if you're if you are a qualified worker, okay? If you have a degree, for example, a degree, a university degree, or a vocational degree, then you have a profession. For example, a lawyer, the lawyer, that's the job of lawyer is a profession. But for example, if you're a waiter, that's not a profession. Okay, so it's something related to qualification in general. So if you have qualifications, if you have diplomas and something, that's profession. If not, it's not called profession. It's called job or occupation. So job or occupation. So these are names of jobs: accountant, designer, engineer, etc. But then you can also have what we call position or job description. So you can be an accountant, and that's your job, but then in a particular company, the name of your position is not engineer. It has, I don't know, like a more sophisticated name or a technical name, which is very difficult to translate sometimes. For example, you can be um, you can be an accountant, cioè il contabile, and but then work as a sales consultant. So sales consultant is more the position that you have in the company, sales advisor or whatever. So more things to take into account. You can say work. You can use the word work, the verb work. In American English, it's very typical that you use the verb for, the preposition for. I work for Nokia. I work for Global Credit Bank, as in here. That's very American, the use of for. Okay. Normally in English, British English, the tendency to use at. Okay. I work at or in as well. In or at. How do you call the central offices of a company? The headquarters. That's like the head office. Okay. I work at the head office. So you have the head office or headquarters. Have you ever seen the word headquarters? Look. Headquarters is the central, is like the central offices of a company, central offices. And then you have like a tree. A tree has branches. So you can work in a branch office, For example, if you work for a bank, the bank may have a central office, but then branch offices, so different offices, different locations. If in English you say, where are you based? Sorry, where are you based? It's like intra-company language. Where are you based? I'm based in London. I'm based in Paris. I'm based in the office, okay? In which office? In English, the word office is very general. So, for example, you can walk down the street and say, well, that's my office, and you're pointing to a shop. Imagine that you work for Mango, and you walk down the street with a friend, you say, that's my office. My office is not like you have a computer, a table, a desk. Office is very general. See you in the office. So office is your place of work, el lugar de trabajo. Ahí trabajo yo, that's my office. You don't need to be a doctor. You don't need to be a lawyer, an engineer to have an office. Office is everything in English. So here, let's move on. These are like names of departments as well. Look, do you know the names of departments in English? Departments in a company, company departments. You have planning, sales, finance. What else? What other departments are there in a company? Human resources. Human resources, normally abbreviated as with an acronym, with initials. Initials. Have you studied company departments in other courses, in other modules? With Marcelo, with Nestor or something? No? So, human resources, HR. In English, it's very typical that company departments are shortened because it's the language of the company. So you don't need to say human resources, you say HR. Or IT, what's IT? What does IT evoke in your mind? No. No, not here. Like IT, how less or something else. IT, IT is a very modern word, but do you know this is an initial? I is an initial of something. The T stands for something. Anybody works in the field of computing? You work in the field in this area of computing. And do you know this acronym?
I'm IT, but I'm not IT. I'm IT user.
IT user or
IT user.
IT means information technology. IT, information technology. So if you say, well, you have to speak to IT. IT is like the computing department, okay? Como el departamento de informática in general, or the technical department as well. Technical, if you want. HR, human resources. Human resources. It's in the past, the modern, like what is human resources? But this is what traditionally we know as personnel, the personnel departments. Personnel, okay? Yes, the personnel departments. Then we have IT. Then we have also another abbreviation which is very easy, admin. What is admin? Administration, administration. So everything is shorter and shorter in English in general. What other things do you know? What are the names of departments? So we can have planning, human resources, marketing, sometimes combined, ventas, sales and marketing together, and the department which buys things for the company. Imagine that you have a shop and you need to buy a computer, a cash, a till, una caja registradora, doors, or furniture in general. So you need to have a purchasing department. Purchasing. Sometimes combined as well. Sales and purchasing department. Departamento de sales and purchasing. Compra-venta. Compras y venta. What else? What more names that you can think of? For example, logistics. That can be another department. Atención al público. Okay, well that's sales really. Sales. Ventas. Atención al cliente. We've seen that before. How do you say cliente in English? Customer. And what do you give to the customer? You give service, customer service. So there are lots of departments, okay? And you can have you have a list here in 13. For example, you have marketing, accounts or accounting, customer service, sales, also R&D, research and development. And today we can say more even. We have R, D, and I. R and D is research and development. I más D. Pero es que hoy es I más D más I. So, research, development, and innovation. Innovation. So you can complement R and D with the I if you want. More. You've got them all here, okay? IT, logistics, finance, admin, shipping, dispatch, shipping. What is shipping or delivery? Well, sorry, dispatch or delivery as well. Shipping. Shipping. Sorry? Yes, it's like it's connected to logistics in some way, okay? It depends on the company. Some companies prefer to call their departments logistics, others delivery, or the financial department or the accounting department. So sometimes it depends a lot on the company, maintenance, production, and purchasing. So here you have everything. And then this is to talk about your responsibilities. I don't know if you have seen this verse before. These are ways to describe your position, verbs. So, as we said before, normally we use the verb work. I work for Compunova PLC. PLC is the fiscal classification of the company, okay? Or like limited or public limited company or private limited company. So that's just like the acronym. To work in, you work in an area, you work in a department. To work under, so you can use the word work with for, with that, within, with under. What do you understand by this? Like, I work under one of the best chefs in the country. What does that mean? I work under one of the best chefs in the country. What is the position? This has a kind of hierarchical organization. So I work under doesn't mean that you work under, okay? It's like you work in a lower position and the chef is your supervisor. So you have a supervisor and then you have somebody who is less in the company. Chefs. To be in charge of, do you understand that? I'm in charge of the export sales team. To be in charge of. The prepositions are here, the most important things, okay? So this is not really difficult, but this is something that you have to remember very carefully. So be responsible for and be responsible to. Responsible for and responsible to, because they have radically different things. They mean radically different things. So look at the first example. The finance director is responsible for 6 staff. So do you understand that? And then she's responsible to the assistant manager. What is the difference between be responsible for and be responsible to?
For going the upper levels and 2 going the under level.
Okay, in the lower. So it's a matter of upper and lower levels. So if you say the finance director is responsible for 6 staff, in the company diagram, in the company chart, so the director is up and then the staff is down, is like in a lower position. Responsible for, but then responsible to is in the opposite direction, in the reverse direction. So it's like from, so this is top down, and this is bottom up. Bottom up. De abajo arriba, el otro es top down, de arriba abajo. So the thing is that she's responsible to the assistant manager. How can you translate that into Spanish? More or less.
Secretaria, sí.
Yeah. Yes, for example. But what does responsible to mean then? Ella, que la primera, el director de finanzas es responsable o está a cargo de un equipo de 6 empleados, staff, ¿no? La segunda sería ella, no sabemos qué, es como que ella trabaja para, algo así sería, o está bajo la supervisión de, o tiene que dar cuentas a. Have you ever seen the word report? Ahora que se usa tanto. Reportando directamente al jefe, yo qué sé, que suena tan raro porque eso es inglés total. Reportando directamente es eso. Es que reports, you report, you communicate, like in close connection, in close contact. Es que te comunicas directamente con el superior, pues más o menos es eso, ¿no? She's responsible to the assistant manager. Ella tiene que dar cuentas, rendir cuentas. It's the same as be accountable to, okay? So the 5 department heads are accountable to the CEO. So you're the department manager, okay, but you have a boss as well. O sea, dicen los jefes de departamento tienen que dar cuentas al presidente ejecutivo. The CEO. CEO means Chief Executive Officer. Chief Executive Officer, or you can also say presidents, especially in American English, some people say president, the president of a company, or the managing director, as well, managing director. Then we have report to. Report to is just what I've mentioned. So you must report to the chairman any unethical practices. You must communicate, okay, to the chairman. The chairman is the president as well. Any unethical practices. And then we have more. These are more or less like phrasal verbs, okay, prepositional verbs, specialized in. The company specializes in data security. Do you work, or are you working now at the moment? What does your company specialize in? Eduardo?
My company.
Yes. So what's the area?
The area is towers.
Sorry?
Towers.
Towers.
No, towers. It's
tablets. Okay. So that's their specialism. Okay. So you can say my company specializes in or in computer equipment, for example. Specializes in. You don't say is specialized. No se dice en inglés, está especializada en compasiva. No, it's active. Specializes. To be involved in means to participate in something. For example, I'm not involved in the renovation project, which means I don't have any connections, I don't have anything to do with the renovation project. And then deal with and handle are very, very business words. To deal with, deal. What is a deal? Deal. A deal. Do you know the meaning of deal? Not here. A deal. Well, a deal can mean many things. But as a verb, a deal is an agreement. For example, the New Deal, el New Deal. New Deal is like the new agreement. Deal. Deal puede significar oferta, pacto, acuerdo. Aquí es, no es trato, pues aquí es tratar. Deal with, tratar con tal cosa. For example, frontline staff have to deal immediately with complaints. What does that mean? What department are we speaking about here? What department is this describing? Think of that sentence. Frontline staff have to deal immediately with complaints. What is the department that is associated with this idea? Production department, the logistics department, the finance department. Who is the frontline staff? Frontline. What's the meaning of front? Are you sitting at the front or at the back? You're sitting at the front, okay? So front line. The front line is the people that are in touch with the customer, with the public. So the front, for example, in a hotel, who is part of the frontline team? Reception. Reception is in general, the reception team. Okay, or in a shop, perhaps the cashier is or the customer assistant. So that's the frontline staff, the people who have to speak with the customers directly. And if there are complaints, normally the complaints, if you go to a restaurant and you're not satisfied with the service, who do you normally complain to? You complain to the waiter first, then maybe you can complain to the chef, to the cook, but first is the waiter or the waitress. So that's the front line. The other people are like at the back. So to deal with or to handle, es como tratar con algo, manejar, okay, handle. Decide, we know. To look after is a phrasal verb. For example, a babysitter, look after little children. Look after. Look after is like more metaphorical, okay? You look after is like you're responsible for something. Look after. Take care of is the same. See to. These are all similar, okay? They are very similar. To see to is very, very formal. A technical service sees to repairs. Como que atiende, no es solo ver, sino atiende a las reparaciones. To carry out, for example, the R&D department carries out satisfaction surveys. To carry out is to develop, to put into practice, to conduct as well, to conduct, conducir. Depend on, we know, and liaise with. Look at the sentence. In my job, I have to liaise with different departments. To liaise. What is the liaise? To liaise with different departments. Liaise. Sorry? Yes, but it means that you're like in the middle and you have to communicate. You need to have links, connections with other departments. So you liaise. Liaise tiene que ver un poco como con enlazar. Liaise significa enlazar. En mi trabajo tengo que enlazar con diferentes departamentos. Quiero decir que pues, actuar de intermediario, comunicarme mucho con otros departamentos, como estar en medio. Sí, por ejemplo, ¿no? Synergy, yes, that's a very light synergy. Synergy, like work together, joint. Okay, yes. So we are going to do some activities. Well, you can read the rest. Perhaps this is the most complex because the first part, look, the first part is just a review of grammar, which is kind of basic, okay? So at the beginning, you have the verb to be, the present simple, present continuous. That's very grammatical. The second part is more complex because this is the vocabulary, like the focus of the course, the vocabulary. So if we, again, on page 11, this is very important. Page 12 as well is very important. Here you have different, how do you call it? Job descriptions. For example, this, a junior finance assistant. That's the name of the job. But what do you have to study? What do you have to do? To be, so that's the name of the position. It's not like your job, it's the description. You see what I mean? It's the functions, the responsibilities. So junior finance assistant, do you know the meaning of that in Spanish? That junior finance assistant? More or less, okay. Auxiliar, finanzas, en prácticas, junior. And the opposite of junior is senior, okay? A senior is a more consolidated position. Junior is that you're still learning, and like a student in some way. So here you have an example. Perhaps this is the most, but then you have an IT technician, a cook, Let us read this text, this little text, because it's an example of your area more or less connected to the thing. So, anybody would like to read the first sentence, like the first 2 lines? This one? Esther, would you like to? Would you like to read these 2 lines? Like, hello, my name's Anne. Yes, please. You can read it from there, okay?
Hello, my name is Anne.
Sorry.
I always like business and economics.
Economics
That's why I took vocational course in
and finance. So this is the course that we're doing. A vocational course in admin and finance. Okay. At present,
I work in a very high in retail department
in Central Amsterdam. What is the sector of retail? Well, you know the meaning of department store? Department store is like one very big company with many different departments, like El Corte Inglés or Harrods. But what is the meaning of retail? Retail. What's the sector of retail? Clothes or many other things. Retail. Retail means shops in general, okay? Shopping, normally clothes, but also, I mean, many things. So retail. Retail really means al menor, venta al menor, okay? Venta minorista. And how do you say mayorista? Al detalle, it's retail. Think of retail, detalle, más o menos. And how do you say mayorista? There is a name of a company, well, in British you can say cash and carry. Cash and carry, which is also the name of a company, but it's not, I mean, cash and carry, it's a normal term in English. So cash and carry, that's a little bit British English. Cash and carry, British. But in more international English, you can say wholesale. Okay. And then the other thing is retail. Wholesale, sale, whole. Whole means like complete, everything, entero, wholesale. Venta completa. And retail, al detalle, retail. So when you see retailer, a retailer is a shop. A retailer. Como el pequeño comercio, retailer. Okay, so let's continue reading. Central Amsterdam. Okay. Anybody would like to continue with that? I'm Faina. Would you like to continue? I am. Yes, here. I am.
I am a junior finance assistant in the finance and accounting department.
Accounting, accounts, contabilidad, finanzas. Can you please continue?
I'm learning how to help out with bookkeeping.
Bookkeeping. I'm learning how to help out with bookkeeping. What is bookkeeping? Bookkeeping. What books do you have to keep? Not really. It's accounting. Bookkeeping means accounting. Es otra forma de decir contabilidad. Because if you are an accountant, you need to have a record of all the financial, the commercial transactions. So there are some books, financial books that you have to complete, okay? And control. El mantenimiento de libros. But where? In the library? No. Okay. It's more financial. So I also support is help. I also help the finance director in the preparation of budgets. Budget is a very important word for you. Budget. What is a budget? No, but it's connected to that. No es equipaje, que es luggage o baggage, pero a veces se conecta con eso, porque dices, for example, EasyJet or Ryanair is a budget company, because it's a low budget company, low budget, low costs, de bajo presupuesto, budgets, okay, budgets. Sorry. Yes, budgets. But be careful, because what is a budget? Imagine that I have, I don't know, I have problems at home and I need one of the pipes is broken, or I've got a problem with one of my doors and I need a carpenter or a plumber or something. Necesito que me haga un presupuesto, el fontanero, el carpintero. How do you say that presupuesto in English? A budget. It's not a budget. A budget. No. Budget is the money that you have available. For example, you say, well, I'm traveling to Paris in the summer. My budget is 300 euros. My budget, that's like the money that I've got for my trip, the money available. Or you say the government is preparing the budgets for next year, is the money available, the budgets. But if I need a carpenter or something, what I need is a quotation. 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 Have you seen the word quotation before? Quotation. Sorry. A quotation. A quotation is it's also called in English, you can also say an estimate. I need an estimate, which is more or less the cost of a service, a tentative estimate of the cost of a service, which is different to budget, okay? Budget is the money available, el dinero disponible para gastar, to spend. But the quotation is an estimate of the cost of a product or a service. Who prepares budgets? Who prepares budgets? The company, the government, the financial departments, the purchasing department. Who prepares quotations? When you give well, it can be a company, but it's like a professional service to somebody. Quotation, quotation. Sometimes also called quote, a quote, a quote. Because to quote significa presupuestar. Presupuestar. Okay. So the boss here, the boss is little by little giving me more responsibility and training me to do new things. At the moment, I'm responsible for the production of the company's weekly accounts, and I also ensure that all financial transactions are in accordance with the law. In accordance with the law means that they are legal, okay? All the transactions are licit, legitimate. My duties, what's duties? Duties. My duties include, okay, my obligations, my responsibilities, my functions, my yes, what I must do. Do not confuse with duty, like when you go to the airport, you have duty free, or when you travel, duty free. In that case, duty means, well, it's also an obligation. Let me just, I don't know what's happening really, that's fine. Okay, so let's finish this. So my duties including identifying risks and opportunities, and processing some costs, such as payroll. What is the payroll? Payroll or sickness payments. Payroll is the salaries. The salaries, the monthly salaries, nominas, payroll, or sickness payments. Sickness, enfermedad, okay, de bajas. I also have the task of offering guidance to other departments on any financial error or discrepancies. So you can continue reading all that. And we are going to do some activities, okay? So let's see if I can repair all this. So if you go to the platform and you open Unit 2, you have here class exercises for today and also next week. So this is not homework, okay? It's just for here, for the tutorial here. So you can click on the activities and here. So the first thing that we're going to do, number one is just the verb to be. That is very easy. Number two is more important. So now I'm going to give you about 5 minutes, between 5 and 10 minutes, so that you can complete number two. It's about articles. So you have to identify one mistake in each sentence. For example, look at the example. I hope to see her at the Frankfurt Book Fair the next week. The next week is incorrect. We don't say the next week. We only say next week. So you have to identify one mistake in each sentence. Okay? So go on and try to mend it. Ahora mismo no se puede hacer nada para no hay nadie aquí de mantenimiento por la noche. Entonces, okay, so let's see all together what you have. So who's very sure of number one? Sorry, of A. Who thinks that knows A? Eduardo, would you like to try?
Right.
Can you, yeah? You can read the correct version if you like.
Okay, can you book me the taxi? Can you book taxi to the next station, please?
You book a taxi to the next station, please. Much simpler. Can you book me? It's okay. Can you book me?
No.
But you book me what? It's not the taxi. What taxi? It's a taxi, and that's it. So can you book me a taxi to the station, please? Because it's not a particular one, it's any, a taxi. Okay. Do you know what I'm synonym for taxi? For example, in London, the typical London taxi is the black cab, okay? Or New York, the typical New York taxi is the yellow cab, okay? Sometimes people say taxi is British, cab is American, but that's not real, okay? So taxi can be British and American, and if you want to stop a taxi in New York, you don't say cab, you say taxi. So it's very international. What about B? I have an information that I think will interest you. Well, that's easy because it's underlined, so there is a mistake here, and this is the problem here. How can you correct this sentence to make it grammatically acceptable? Some, okay, or nothing, okay. So you can say, I have information that I think will interest you, or you can also say some. Some. So let's put it in brackets to understand that it's optional. I have some information, I have information. Then C, Juan, ExxonMobil. What is the mistake here? A, okay. Biggest is a superlative. Have you studied, remember, comparative, superlatives? We don't use a biggest or a biggest. We say the biggest, the best, the most. So, the biggest oil company in the world. D. I'm sorry to be late again. A train was delayed by an hour. Any ideas? No, I've just read what is here. So I'm sorry to be late again. A train was delayed by an hour. What is the error here? What's the strange thing? A train, again, a train. It's like the taxi. No, it wasn't the taxi, it's a taxi. But here it's not a train, it's the train in which I was traveling. It's like my train. So I'm sorry to be late again. The train, which means my train, was delayed by an hour. Delayed, do you understand the meaning of delayed? Delayed is like late, it's more formal. To be late, to be delayed. Demorado, retrasado. Then E, there has been the enormous increase in the number of people going to university. There has been an enormous increase. An enormous increase. Again, so all the mistakes are connected with articles. An enormous increase. I never get much time to read the newspaper at the work. How many articles are there? How many articles? There are 2 articles. One is incorrect. The last one is incorrect. So what do you say? At work. That's it. It's like at home or in class. So sometimes you don't say at the home or at the work. You can say in the office. In the office, yes, but not. So no, we don't write anything. At work, that's it. Can we meet in Red Lion Pub around 6 o'clock? Can we meet in, sorry? Can we meet in, at? No. At is okay, in is okay, but it's a specific place with a name, so we have to say in the Red Lion Pub. Okay, in the Red Lion Pub. H. In last 5 years, the company has increased its sales by 60%. In last 5 years, the company has increased its sales by 60%. So, what do you think? In is okay. In last 5, what's the meaning of that in Spanish? En los últimos 5 años. So how do you say that in English? The idea here is last. Last. Do we use last alone on its own or with something? For example, how do you say ayer por la noche? Anoche. Yesterday night or la semana pasada. Last week. Do we say the last week? No. But in this case, we have to say in the last 5 years. Because in English, perhaps you've been told that lasts, we don't use the with last. Okay, that's not totally correct. We sometimes use the last and we sometimes use last. Have you studied next and last? ¿Han estudiado el next y el last? A lo mejor siempre les habrán dicho, no, no hay que poner el artículo, no se dice the next, se dice next. O no hay que poner the last, sino last. Bueno, no es del todo cierto. A veces hay que ponerlo, otras veces no. Lo que pasa es que a veces se simplifican demasiado las cosas. So, the thing is that, if you say, look at the difference. If you say, last week, and in the last week, there is a difference in meaning. Last week es la semana pasada. In the last week es en la última semana, que no es la semana pasada, es en los últimos 7 días. If you say, imagine that you say, last year now means in 2014, okay? In 2014. Like at some point, for example, between 1st of January and 31st of December. So last year is at some point. For example, I went to Mexico last year. I traveled to Mexico last year. Last year in some points. But then if you say in the last year, that means now, today is the 26th, so it will be something like between the 27th of January 2014 and today. Let's put it. So do you understand the difference between these two things? Last year is like last calendar year, in the calendar. But in the last year is the period of 1 year. And we're not talking about calendar years. The period of 1 year. So you can say, for example, I haven't felt very well in the last week. No he estado muy bien de salud en la última semana, que no quiere decir la semana pasada. En los últimos 7 días, algunos días de la semana pasada y otros de esta. So, in the activity, we have to say here, in the last 5 years. Porque no es en el pasado, last no es pasado, como last week, la semana pasada, last year, el año pasado, no, es último. Por ejemplo, si yo te digo, reservé mi vuelo en el último minuto. I booked my flight in the last minute. ¿Quién ha dicho que no se puede poner the ahí? Es que de hecho hay que ponerlo. In the last minute, porque no es el minuto pasado, sino el último minuto. So it's kind of different. Hay que cuestionar un poco a veces lo que sabemos del inglés. Do you have the piece of paper I could write your address on? Do you have the piece of paper? It's not the piece of paper. In English, when we want to make something which is not countable, we want to make it countable, we say a piece of, like a piece of paper, a piece of information, una noticia, a piece of news, un mueble, a piece of furniture, un consejo, a piece of advice. So we say a piece of. I hope you remember all this. Lo recuerdan, ¿no? Más o menos contables, incontables. And finally, H, my flight leaves at the 3 o'clock. The is incorrect. My flight leaves at 3 o'clock. That's it. That's it. Okay, so what's the time? What do you do with the listening parts? Are you very tired or so-so? Okay. Let's then only do one more activity and then we finish, okay? How many exams have you had today? Only the English exam? No. You had another exam before. Was it very difficult? Yes. But did you have classes with Nestor? Up extra, so it's like the exam and class. Okay. So we are only going to do the last activity, which is a kind of mini listening about the names of departments. We have just seen marketing, logistics, IT, HR. So this is on page 6. Here, okay? So we are going to listen to the names of 10 departments. Just copy them, okay? Copy the names of the departments. As always, you will have the listening. The listening is here in the platform, so. Okay, so.
Marketing. Luis and Mario, this is Mr. What?
Okay, let's listen again from the beginning. Here, okay.
Activity 11. Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to marketing. Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to customer service. Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to accounts. Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to R&D. Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to HR. Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to finance. Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to sales. Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to IT. Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to admin. Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to logistics.
Did you get them? Did you get the whole list?
Yeah.
So what do they say? Like, it's very repetitive, but because it's like a message on an answer phone, on the telephone answer phone. What do they say? So Luis and Mario, what do they say? Look, listen.
Activity 11. Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White.
Luis and Mario, what can you hear there? This is Mr. White. And what's the meaning of that?
It's a name or name.
It's like, I am, okay? But in English, when you speak on the telephone, you never say I am. You speak in the third person. This is. It's like, le habla, okay? Luis and Mario, le habla el señor White. So always third person.
Please go and speak to marketing.
So first department, marketing.
Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to customer service.
Second department, customer service. So marketing, they say customer service, but in English you can also say customer services if you want, okay? Servicios al cliente. So you can also make it plural.
Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to accounts.
Accounts. That's very slow. Accounts. Accounting is an alternative name. Accounting, accounts.
Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to R&D.
R and D, which is the short version of R for research and I más D. Research and desarrollo, development, research and development.
Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to HR.
To R. HR means human resources, personal, recursos humanos.
Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to finance.
Finance.
Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to sales.
Sales. Remember that sales also, if you go to the shops now, you go to Triana, sales means promotions, offers, reductions. This is in a more professional language, like sales is sales. Sales mean commercial transaction. It's not offers.
Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to IT.
IT, I for information, T for technology. IT.
Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to admin.
Admin is the short form of administration. Admin.
Luis and Mario, this is Mr. White. Please go and speak to logistics.
Logistics. And that's it, okay? So you've got all the names that the majority of those who we've seen, okay? Logistics, there are some more, production, purchasing, planning that we haven't seen, but we will see them next week, okay? So we finished now. Do you have any problems or questions before we leave? No? So there is no homework for next week, just we will continue, just read the material, okay? So read the PDF, finish reading the PDF, all of this, especially this vocabulary, okay? The company charts, el organigrama, and also this technical language, okay? And that's it, okay? And then next week we will continue with these activities here in class, okay? We will do a listening as well, and this which is also about departments, okay? Thank you for coming, and see you next week.